Donald, really, really nice having you here, and CEO, founder of Zulzi, as it says on your T-shirt.
Yeah.
We'll go on your journey in a second, but I'm very interested to understand how you came up with the name Zulzi.
Yeah, I get asked these questions a lot of times, right? And thank you. I mean, first of all, thank you so much for inviting me, George. It's a pleasure to be here. I've always been a fan of AutoTrader since I was young.
So glad to know.
Yeah, so it's actually what used to inspire us, to dream big, buy those magazines, browse through the magazines, see the cars that you want to buy one day. So thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Coming back to Zulzi, the name actually, I used to work for, my last job, I used to work for a company called One Connect as a consultant at Telcom. I remember I was sitting one day thinking, no, I need to get over here and start a company, right? And my company is going to be in e-commerce. Now I was just looking for a name, right? In fact, at that time, I already had a business called Eurobooks that was selling second-hand books.
Okay.
But now I realize that actually I want to expand more to different things. It's not just going to be a book about books only. So now I want a generic name that's going to sort of like stand for the other things that we're going to sell, right?
So it's like almost like a Jeff Bezos of South Africa.
It started like that. It's similar to that. I think, it started like that. And then as I was browsing through the internet, and then there was this lady who just popped up on my feed, Zulzi. She wasn't my girlfriend. I need to be very clear on that. She was someone else's wife. And then I loved the name because the name actually Zulzi means to achieve something. And then I took that name. I was like, okay, let me actually take this name Zulzi and rearrange it. And then we came up with Zulzi. Right.
Wow.
So that's how the name came from there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because that's where it came from.
And you've achieved a lot. I mean, check us 6060, because that's really what Zulzi is on the planet about, mainly.
Yeah, look, I think, let me say we've gone through a lot of things. Like, I mean, we started obviously with e-commerce. We used to aggregate different retailers. And then at the back of that, then ShopRite came, and then we partnered together to build 6060, which has been incredible. And then also on the Zulzi side, we haven't stopped as well, right? So we went further. We built our own dark stores. We've got 7 dark stores now, including pharmacy as well. So right now, if you want to order your prescription medication, you can do it on the Zulzi platform, right? So we're going deeper as well, adding things like being able to book a doctor instantly, do a virtual consultation or go to a physical doctor, get a script as a digital script that you can upload into our platform. So we're also trying to integrate like the entire value chain for healthcare, into the one platform, which is Zulzi. So that journey, I think, has been incredible. We've also been growing a lot as well. Like when I look at like in the grocery space through our dark stores as well, the numbers, I think they tell a very different story, in terms of, funny enough, like when I switched the module, after COVID, COVID was definitely at our peak. And then I decided that we're going to stop picking from the retailers to open our own dark stores, right? It's only about 2 months ago that we reached the same level, right? Through our own dark stores this time around, not through picking through different stores. Interesting. Where now we reach the same level in terms of like, order volumes and all those things, right? So, yeah, so it's been interesting to see like also the change in how people embrace online. Just also seeing different players coming into our space. But if you're able to offer like better experience, then you're able to attract these customers, right? So it doesn't matter, like gone are those days where customers were very loyal to say, I will never buy from anyone else, right?
Yes.
What I'm seeing now is I'm seeing a shift. Because even then, before COVID, what was interesting is, because we used to have different stores, right? It was very clear as to like who had the most market share on our platform, to a point where I never believed that there was going to be a use case for even checkers or Pick and Pay selling things online and do better than the other platforms. But what we're seeing now, I'm seeing it different, the opposite, where if you offer better experience, people will come to you, right?
As a niche brand.
Yeah, whether if it's a niche brand or, because I mean, like if you look at so as an example, if you look at like what Checkers is doing or what Pick and Pay will do, Spar products are really the same, right? But what differs the most is the experience, So if you order online, who can offer the best experience? And what we are seeing now is, I'm also seeing a shift from people who used to say, you know what, for me, I'm interested in this quality of Woolworth, whatever. I'm seeing those customers now shifting to the other side, right? Because of what? Because of the experience. Yeah, if you're ordering on, and one of the mistakes that a lot of people have made in the past is to think that customers want it in one style only, right? Yeah. But customers want it in different ways. Sometimes they want to order online, sometimes they want to go to your store. So I think for me, I can see why even the success of 6060 also translate to the offline world as well, right? Because customers want it in different ways. The moment they try online, they're like, oh, let's give it a try. Let's go to your stores as well. So it's just been interesting to see that shift as well. Obviously, the Gen Z is worse, right? Like when you talk about Gen Z, it's a different thing altogether, right? Like speed matters as well to them. In fact, I'll even argue that it matters more than quality as well. So I think the young people, that's why when you look at the platforms like your Temu, your Shein, those most of the client base is definitely like your Gen Z that are actually ordering on the platform.
So let's go back to the beginning, because your journey has been fascinating. First, where did you grow up?
Yeah, so I grew up in a village called Sushi in Limpopo. So I'm Tsonga. I was born there. Like I grew up like just like any kid, going play in the mud, doing all those sort of things, But I mean, like it was fun, right? We used to have a lot of fun there. My dad was a pastor, so I'm a PK.
Oh, wow.
Pastor's kid.
So am I.
Yeah. That's amazing. And then, here we are, so pastor's kids.
They're the naughtiest kids. PKs are the naughtiest kids. I can hear from the lot. Yeah. So Limpopo, did you grow up your entire teenage years there, or did you?
Yeah. So, up until matric, actually. I grew up there up until matric. I think what was interesting as well was I think back in those days, I think when you reach what we call grade 10 now, there used to be other schools that the smartest kids in our village would be moved to another school in Guyana.
Okay.
But when the ANC came and took over the power, they didn't like that. They were like, no, we should not have this thing of taking the smartest kid here in the schools to another school, right? So in my year, they abolished that.
Interesting.
So I was very disappointed and very angry at that time, right? Because
would you have gone?
I wanted to go. Like, in fact, I actually had said my goodbyes to everyone in the school, right? So I was very disappointed that I had to come back to the same school. And I think for me, what was more disappointing is, obviously I looked at the school itself, right? The school that I was in, we didn't have, a lot of teachers there were not able to teach maths in higher grade, right? And it was standard. So if you were in that school, it was standard that you must do maths since that was grade. Otherwise, you won't have a teacher. Interesting. So to me, it was like one of those things where at that time, it almost felt like, okay, now my dreams, I'm not going to be able to go to university and do the course that I want to do. So my world came crumbling at that time, right? And also at that time, I think at home, at home, I think with 5 kids. So, the other, my sister and my other brother, who were deemed to be very smart, went to those schools, right? So
older than you or younger?
Yeah, older than me, right? So for me, it's like I was supposed to follow their footsteps, And now I'm not able to do that. Yeah. Now I'm stuck in this school. But what was interesting is obviously if you know what you want to achieve and you dream big about it, nothing is impossible. I still remember that time, when I was in grade 11, we wrote an exam externally and I failed dismally, because the internal exams, they were just so simple. Yes. Right. Sometimes you get 100 because things are simple, but when it was an external exam, I really struggled with it. But at that moment, I realized that I started to think outside the box to say, actually, it makes sense why this school is struggling, why we're not producing anyone who's doing maths in higher grade, So I started to study in December, preparing for my matric exams, and I had to do it on my own because I realized, actually, if I don't do it on my own, no one's going to teach me. Yeah. So come, beginning of the year, and then I was ready to even teach other students. And then I
was the best way to learn is to teach other people.
Yeah, exactly, And then, I think I, became probably the first student in our high school to pass maths on high grade,
Wow.
And then that became the path for other people as well. After that, like it became a normal thing. So it was just quite interesting that actually a lot of things that we think are impossible, if you apply yourself, you can do it.
Yeah, it's not accepting the system.
Yeah,
in its form.
Exactly.
You can make your own path.
Yeah, no, definitely. Yeah.
And then after matric, where did you go to university?
So then I went to VETS to study applied maths. So then did applied maths, and then 2017, I then moved to Cape Town to start my first job as a software developer for a company called Mathmatech. And then from there, and then I spent about 2 years in Cape Town, and then moved back this side to work for a company like MTN, Consology.
Did you follow the job? So moving to Joburg was a career move?
Yeah. So moving, it was like I was still more on the tech-based software space. And then later joined FNB as well during that time of Michael Jordan, which was quite fun. There were a lot of interesting projects then. And then worked for a company like One Connect, which I think was my last job actually. One Connect, which was more like a consulting firm, working mostly at telecom, right? So that was my last job actually for working in the corporate space.
So what did you do for telecom?
For telecom, actually, we were building a lot of like billing systems for the group. And also doing a little bit of some typical systems as well, which I wasn't a fan of, but we had to do it at the time. So in fact, I would say like when I was there, I was actually very much into business because I was like, I knew that like I have to, now I'm leaving this space, so it was, I probably spent about 6 months actually working there from FNB, right? So then from then I moved, I transitioned completely to become full-time. Then I moved to start Zulzi, which was then an e-commerce platform selling books to students.
So how did that start? How did that transition start? What was the catalyst? Because I mean, it doesn't sound to me like you come from a wealthy billionaire family. Unless you do.
Maybe you're judging me now.
I'm just saying it sounds like.
Maybe my dad's a billionaire.
I'm PK2 and they're not billionaires.
You're right. Look, I mean, I didn't come from a fancy family, right? Like, we're just a normal family, like. So I think for me, I'll say there was a lot of, I think growing up, I really wanted to make it big. Yes. Right. So I think even though like, the community we lived in, it was not like a fancy community. So for instance, one of the things that I said to you is like, we used to walk like almost 5-10 kilometers. One of the things that I used to love buying was an AutoTrader and just buy to see like which cars are out there, which ones am I going to buy next. I still remember also like buying magazines like Kiko, reading a lot about Pirates. I'm a Pirates fan. And I was thinking one day I'm going to buy this team, So I think if there's one thing that I had in me was a dream, right? To say, what, I want to do this, I want to do big things.
And did you realize that having a job is not going to get you there? You're going to have to do something bigger.
Yeah, definitely. I think I think the interesting part is also I got to see it early as well, right? So my brother was also like in the IT space. So one thing that I appreciate about him is he would show me a lot, his pay slip, and he was doing well at the time, right? But I realized that I actually wanted something even bigger than that. Yes, So that really helped me to start thinking big, Because I think one of the problems that you can make is like being in a place where you're not exposed to things, So I was hungry to see more. Like even when I went to varsity, I used to go to the garages to look at the cars, I remember even coming to Bryanston side, checking houses as if like I would mind to buy, but it's the things that I wanted to see. Yeah, it was a dream that I had, So I think even when I was working, that dream never died.
Okay.
So, even today, that dream is what carries me forward to say I still want to do better in life, So that hunger, I think, is very, very important to really get that exposure from different people, see what they're getting up to, Because the moment you get exposed, right, your world shifts, I mean, like about a week or so. In fact, I just came back now from San Francisco as well, meeting a lot of guys there, it shifts your perspective in how you think about
context. You're talking about context.
Yeah.
Your context.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that is very important, and I think And those things, in fact, they don't cost much, right? Even for me, for instance, when I started Zulzi as well, there's a time where I used to think, like when I was shifting from books to, like selling groceries online, right? And food delivery, I was thinking, wow, this is like a brilliant idea. I'm the only one with thinking about this in the whole world, right? But then when I started reading, I realized there's actually a lot of other people that are doing this all over the world, right? So I think for me, like how you use the internet these days, right? You can actually live anywhere that you want to be. So right, you don't have to, because then it was more like you'll have to go to the US to get exposed to what's happening there. Yes. But now you can actually live in the US while you're still here. Right? And when you get there, you're not surprised. You're like, this I saw it on the internet. Yeah.
So let's switch from Telkom to Zulzi.
Yeah.
Was it scary? Did you initially get funding, or did you bootstrap it? Did you totally start it on your own?
Yeah, I'll say I was very reckless. Okay? Right. Because I actually, when I left my job, actually, my wife was pregnant at the time. So I just got it was like a few months after getting married, white wedding, everything was all good. I got an apartment in 4 ways. I just bought a car, because when you're
doing well in the corporate world.
Yeah, I'm doing well. Yes. Everything is all good, right? I've got a Mercedes-Benz. Now, I am. It's like I'm quitting this job, right? I'm going to sell books online.
Family telling you mad?
Well, I don't think they said afterwards, right? But they didn't tell me my face. Yeah, my brother did say no, he was very scared about what I was doing, because it was also in business and things were very tough, So when he saw me quit, like the younger brother quitting now, it was another thing, So I left my job.
How old were you at the time?
I was probably 26 at the time.
26?
Yeah, 26. So I left my job. Here I am now going to sell books online, right?
So just explain to me the book selling online.
Yeah.
So your initial stab at Zulzi was a platform to sell third-party books online or your own books online?
So it was both third-party and your books as well, right? So in fact, before that, actually, what I did is I used to run a business called Eurobooks.
Yes.
Yeah, which used to sell second-hand books.
I see.
Right. But that I wasn't doing full-time. Right. And then that's where I realized actually there's something here. Right. Then I decided, okay, let me leave my job to focus on this full-time.
I see.
And then in doing that, then obviously I had to establish relationship with publishers, get stock on credit. They were very generous at that time. I think I was able to sort of raise about R1 million in credit.
I see.
Right. That's what enabled me to buy your books. So here I am, quit my job, get all this inventory from these publishers.
Where would you store the inventory?
They were delivering in my apartment in Forest. So the living room, everything, it was books all over, right? Now it's time to sell online, right? And no one is actually going to the website.
Was that a surprise?
Very, very surprised, because I was thinking already for me,
so that's the kind of build it and they will come story, right?
Yeah. It's okay, but now it was so bad because you don't even have one person checking out the stuff.
Yeah.
Right. So, and now I need to make a plan immediately, because I'm sitting with a stock of 1 million. If I'm not able to sell this, that means I owe these guys that much, $1 million, and then I remember I had to go to campuses. And at that time there was no time to ask for permission to say, vets, can you allow me to do this? Because I think the worst thing that could have happened to me is to ask for permission and then to say no.
No. Yeah.
So to me it was more I go, I start, and then if they chase me, they chase.
Apologize after.
Yeah, I apologize after. So did the same at UJ. We tried to sell these books, but I think we'll probably end up selling almost 300,000 or 400,000 rand in revenue, no profit, right? It was just more now you're selling at cost.
Yeah. Exactly. You're trying to move the books.
Yeah, I'm trying to move the books so I can at least have some money,
yes,
right? And then I can at least, again, think about the next thing. Yeah. So as that was happening, I realized, and to sell books, you only have 2 weeks, right? When the semester opens, if you're not able to make as much money, you can already see that you're not going to be able to sell the other stuff after 3 weeks or so, because most of the people are not buying books anymore. They're back in classes. They're studying already. They're in chapter 2.
Yeah.
Right. So to me, it was I had to think quickly about like what next for me, right? And I could see that this thing is not going to work. Now I need to think about the next thing. So the next thing was selling gadgets, entry-level gadgets online again, right?
Okay. Again, acquiring the inventory or third party?
So again, like acquiring the inventory.
Okay.
Right. So no third party, acquiring the inventory, but also very niche to students, right? It was not just for everyone, right? And then interesting enough, so I went around all the universities doing posters. Well, you design everything, you do everything, you're the delivery man. It's a one-man show, right? If someone...
Had you got visitors to the website yet?
Yeah, now I'm starting to get some visitors, right? You're getting like 15, 20 people placing orders. So the website now is there, right? But now I'm repurposing it for gadgets. Yeah. So now I've got books and gadgets, entry-level gadgets. And then I still remember when I was at Vets, so stressed, thinking like I might have to go back to my job at FNB and I might have to apologize to my manager to say, take me back. As I'm sitting there, I remember some students came all the way from Val. They saw my posters there and then they were coming to buy the gadgets, So they bought all the gadgets that I had that day, right? Like your smartphones, Huawei phones, entry-level laptops. I realized actually there's a market there, And then I started going there. Like the following day, in fact, I was there. Like, they bought everything that I had in the car, So that's how I was able to stay away from going back to work. But this time around, in fact, when I was doing that, it was also like...
Did you make a profit out of those gadgets this time?
Yeah. So it was highly profitable and I had to make up for all the mistakes on the other side.
Did you end up getting rid of all the books?
No, I didn't. But what was interesting now is I actually started using books as a way of... Because, by the way, when I left my job, I didn't have any money, right? I didn't have any savings.
Yeah.
So I actually started using that as a way of getting money to actually support the gadget business.
I see.
So a lot of students will buy gadgets.
You continued with the books.
Yeah, I continued doing the books. But now this time around, I was actually able to build the client base, build strong relationships with the publishers, get money and sell them. I was the cheapest guy who was selling books.
Okay.
But knowing that was not my core business, where I make my money is on the gadget side. Yeah, so the gadgets, they were highly profitable. Like those gadgets that I was selling, they were not like popular brands, like ProLine, Huawei speakers, all those things that people didn't know where to get them from. So they were not from the traditional stores.
Yeah.
So I started like selling that. I think I remember on that year, we did about 5 million rand turnover, right, in electronics through these students, and every year it was just growing 100%. So to me, it was very clear that this thing works now. I'm not going back to work.
Okay.
Yeah. And then obviously this business was still very seasonal. And I always wanted to do something big. In fact, before I switched to groceries and everything else, I also tried clothing. I went to clothing, trying to sell. There was this lady who used to, in fact, there was a shop in CBD, downtown CBD. They used to make traditional outfits, lovely dresses, And at the time, a lot of Black women were looking for those traditional clothes, and there was no way to find them online except for the CBD. Yeah, except for going to CBD. And when you go there, you must be brave as well, right? Anything can happen to you. So I decided that, no, let me get these guys, put them in my platform, right? In fact, those guys, they are the guys where I saw the power of online. Like I saw how many people really wanted to buy clothes at the time online, right? I remember my website, we moved from like probably having like, 200-300 visitors a day to almost like 3,000 visitors a day. And all of them, when I checked, they were searching for dresses. But now the problem is these guys, they were so busy as well in their store. Like they are catering for customers who are walking in, they have to measure them, they do stuff. So they didn't even have time for me to give me the inventory. So, the first week I tried to do this and then customers are complaining, they're not getting the stock. It takes time because we didn't have the real stock.
Yes.
Now
this is a third-party stock.
Yeah, it's like when they order, I need to go to these guys to make this thing and take long.
Yes.
Then I realized, no, let me rather do it by myself, right? Let me make the dresses,
Make the dresses.
Yeah, so I had someone I had someone, we start suing in the apartment in 4 ways, took it to some place in CBD for mass production. So she would actually design the dresses, and then from there, we'll take it to CBD. That lady sort of like
a seamstress.
Yeah, like now they're designing this dress set for scale now, right?
Yes.
And then now, we put those dresses online. People started buying them. But the lady who was actually designing the dresses for me, she got the sizes wrong. So the returns in December, they killed me. Then I was like, no, this business is quite stressful. If you're used to books, electronics, I was like, no, I don't want
this is one size fits all. This one's not one size.
Yeah. So it doesn't. It was the opposite. So I did that for like a month. I was like, no. I see the numbers, the turnover, I can see the potential, but it's operationally intense. Like I have to do a lot more to get it working.
Yeah.
That's when I was like, no, let me leave this part, and then I left that other part just to focus on gadget, electronics. But I was still searching, so I never stopped to say, no, I'm still searching for that big thing that can enable me to do a lot more, right? And then fast forward, I then came up with this idea because then when we're delivering to students as well, I started to notice that when we deliver quickly to students, they want to use us more, right? So every time, because at the time when we're delivering books, there was the likes of Kalahari, Take a Lot. They would deliver to students in 3 days, 4 days, but they stood no chance because students would rather walk to a bookshop.
Yes.
Method of payment as well was a barrier for them because they prefer to use cash.
Yeah.
But especially for someone who just, come from, like you just imagine you come from a township or from a village to Johannesburg, you will not want to take a risk of ordering books online, and that's almost half of every university's goods for the first year student. So then I started to realize that actually some of the problems I need to solve here is like how quickly can we deliver to these guys?
Okay.
Can we do it in 2 hours, right? And then when we changed to 2 hours, I saw a lot of students now coming to us, now becoming more interested in using our website, like never.
What did you deliver in 2 hours with electronics? I mean, you must have been sitting with a lot of stock and a big delivery network.
Yeah. So look, I mean, funny enough, like then I started like, I opened an office now in Bram, right?
Yeah.
So I've got 3 cars. Those cars have got the top sellers are in the car already. When you place an order, right, we're coming to you immediate. So then people start talking about it to say, hey, wow, these guys are so quick in delivering, right? Then that actually influenced me because when that was happening, I then asked myself, what if we could do this for everything?
So speed started to become the competitive advantage.
Yeah, exactly. So I was like, no, actually, if we can do this for pharmacy, groceries, alcohol, fast food, then I started to see that everything was up for grabs.
Yeah.
And then we started with, getting all the different retailers. In fact, initially, we're thinking of going to sign up these retailers, right? So we started with like a fast food restaurant. I remember there was a restaurant we used to eat there every day.
Mm-hmm.
And I was thinking that lady is going to be so excited. She's going to come into our platform. She's going to be our first client. I remember going there. I've already bought a camera. I'm ready to take the pictures of the food. And then she said, no, I'm not interested in going online. I'm already on order in and I'm not getting enough traction on it, so I'm not keen on doing this, I was a little bit disappointed, and I was thinking, because this lady was white, and I was thinking, she's probably a racist, and those are the mistakes that people make a lot of times, right? In
making assumptions
as well. Yeah. Like, and I still remember, like, then when there was a guy I used to follow as well, right? Because also, like, what's important as well is don't find yourself in a place where you are, what you call it, like a cave, where you don't see what's happening outside of the country, because a lot of things that people start to generalize or take advantage of is because people don't know what's happening, right? People sometimes they don't know that
you start stereotyping.
Yeah. The whole world sometimes is struggling for electricity or struggling because of this, or interest rates are going up. Everyone is complaining in the whole world. The moment you don't know that, you might actually and people start to take advantage of that. Some people will tell you different things to say. Some people say, come vote for us, because you don't know what's happening in the whole world.
Yeah.
But I think getting to understand what is happening in the entire universe really helps you to sort of like start making informed decisions. So for instance, like back then, what happened is, as I was sitting there thinking about like, okay, where do I go next? There's a company I used to follow very closely called Postmate. You know, Postmates then got acquired by Uber Eats actually. So those guys, the guy was running the company was German, and then was based in New York. So what he was then explaining in that video was like, oh, for him, he's been struggling, you know, like because these guys, the retailers will not have idea of what this on-demand delivery means to them. Yes, they don't understand what it means. Yes, you know. So, but what they started doing was to sort of like just put all the restaurants by force. They didn't have to go and ask for permission to put them. So they just go there, get their menus, put them on the platform. And funny enough, as more and more couriers go to pick up food from these places, then the restaurant wanted to engage them to say, how do we actually sign up with you? Yes. You know, how can we make it better for you, right? And then I realized, actually, it makes sense. It makes sense because back then, no one had an idea of what is this online. You know, you haven't heard about this thing.
Is this pre the pandemic?
Yeah. Like probably like 2016 actually, 2016, 2017. So like, yeah, it was before this thing, before Uber Eats launched to the country, right? So yeah, so we used to actually aggregate like your restaurants, so restaurants and grocery store, pharmacy, all in one pot. It was more like a super app where you could buy everything. So when you download the Zulzi app, you would get all of those things in one platform. Yeah. So that's how we started like also scraping the different websites. Like you Pick and Pay, Woolworth, we'll scrape them, get all the products, put them into the platform, right? So where a customer can now buy all the different things in one place.
Now, how did you do fulfillment? If you scrape third-party content, how did you do fulfillment of the third-party content? Did you go and buy the products yourself?
Yeah, we have to go and buy in the store.
I see.
So whether it's food, everything. I still remember my first customer. In fact, when we went live, the customer ordered Rokomamas. And I wasn't expecting an order because, we just went live on Friday. There was nothing. There's no order. Saturday, I'm thinking, it's just another day, right? So I went for park run, finished around 10, took a shower. 12 o'clock, I opened the laptop just to check what's going on. As I opened the laptop, there's an order for breakfast that can you serve it? Oh, no. So now I have to rush to Rokomamas, right? I drove there, go to Rokomamas. When I got there, I forgotten my card at home. Now I must drive back to fetch the card. By the time I got to the customer, it was 2 o'clock, right? And when the guy opened the door, I could see he wanted to smack me. He wasn't impressed at all. But then, funny enough, I actually spent like an hour with him. Obviously, there were no more orders, So this order, I just have to speak to this guy, just to actually hear more about what the hell is he doing? Because no one has ordered from us before, So, but we started engaging, and they really loved the platform afterwards, So it's so funny, you can actually really turn these bad experiences for customers and turn them into positive experiences and learnings. So that guy became our loyal customer, in fact, even today, right? So then I think there was no relationship with any of these guys. So we just used to go into the store, buy the stuff. Same thing for groceries as well.
How big was your team at this point? Because you're going shopping effectively for other people.
No, there's no one. At that time, you have to do everything. At that time, it's like if someone complains about the service, you're the one who's answering the call. If the order is late, you are the one who's actually was late, So you literally have to do everything, And I think that's where you get to learn a lot of things, right? When I look back, in fact, those things you can take them for granted, but those are the things that really enabled me to build this business today, right? Because if you don't understand that, right, it's very difficult to build any system without that context. You can just imagine someone trying to build something or online platform where you've never seen anything. So it was more like combining the global experiences. Also, what I started doing then was now I became more aware of which platforms are out there, right? Whether if it's in the US, UK, almost all over the world. So continuously learn from them to see what are they doing. Yeah. Right. So, I still remember our first app, we didn't even have UX, UI, design, all those things. I was just literally go check Instacart, copy this page, sitting there,
and code.
Yeah, with Michael. Michael comes as well and join me in the CTO. Sit there and like, oh, change this button, oh, change it like this. Boom, production, Yeah. So that's how we used to do things,
Did you code everything yourself, or did you have somebody?
So I was working with Michael as well. Michael, the CTO. So we worked together, and then my cousin as well joined us. So my cousin was also like one of the guys who used to deliver the books and stuff. Yeah. But then he was turned into a coder. Okay, still there as well today. So all three of us was the whole IT team. So from design, testing, scoping, everything was done by three guys.
Okay. But initially it was just copy that from those people. Let's use it.
Yeah, let's use it.
Which is a good strategy, because you don't have to go and figure out whether UX is going to work because it's working with somebody else.
Yeah. I think even today, right, I still see that as, because also like what you must be careful of, there are platforms, if you are doing the same thing, right, and there's a platform that are bigger than you that are already successful, they've already figured out a lot of things, right?
They've done the research.
Yeah, they've done the research that you don't have the capacity to do as a startup, right? So the moment you just look at that and say, oh, this makes sense, right? Take it to your world, it will allow you to move faster, right?
So going from now books, electronics, groceries, copy pasting different designs that work in the world. I think it's ingenious. To be honest. And then suddenly onto Checkers 6060.
Yeah.
How did that shift happen? Because you're a business now that scrapes websites, gets the content, goes shopping with your staff. Yeah. It's a very different business model to a third-party platform.
Yeah, no, very different. In fact, the third-party story, there was just a lot that happened there as well. When I now think about even before Checkers came into the picture, right? So,
did you start third-party platforms before Checkers?
No, so as in like a Zulzi itself, like as in like obviously having this third-party platform content, living in our world, right? So,
but you doing all the fulfillment?
Yeah, we're doing all the fulfillment. So everything is in our app. Yeah, everything's in an app. In fact, people used to think we've got partnerships with Woolworth.
That's what I mean.
And they believe that, oh, wow, this brand, how did they get it so quickly?
And none of the brands came to you and said, stop doing it.
Some of them they did. Okay. Right? There were some people who called us to say, no, we don't want to be here, remove us. But none of the grocery retailers removed us, and thanks to them. So we were able to learn, get job, and we're giving them numbers, right? Volumes.
You're giving them sales.
Yeah, without in fact, our platform, when we changed to dark stores, we did about 300 million rand, in GMV a year without any commission from these retailers.
So how did you then make your money?
So we used to charge a service fee, right? So there was a service fee that will be added on top.
Okay.
Between 7.5 to 15%. Yes. Depending on which store it is. In fact, what was interesting then is with a lot of Woolies customers, you could go up to 15%. Okay. That's how price insensitive a lot of their customers were. Yeah. And also it was also interesting to see how much they're willing to spend on the platform, right? You will have customers spending between 50 to 100,000 rand a month, on our platform. Wow. Right. To a point where I still remember just going back to when we're still selling groceries and restaurant stuff. We got to a point where we had to switch off restaurant because Uber Eats and SD really they were just going aggressively, and we didn't have any partnerships. I realized, no, maybe instead of focusing on these things, we'd rather focus on groceries as a category. And also because I believe that was going to be one of the biggest categories, right? Yes. At that time, there was just no one doing anything in South Africa. In fact, the players that were here, it was your Woolworth, Pick and Pay, they will deliver to you in 3 days. You are lucky if you get what you've ordered, right? Sometimes you order full cream milk, you get fresh free milk, all of those things. So the express was not great at all. Yes. Right. And that's why, in fact, I still remember a lot of people were saying there's just no market for online groceries in South Africa, right? Yeah. But it was because of the poor experience. Yeah. So sometimes, again, you have to be very careful when people make general statements, right? Yeah. Because sometimes people rely on things that they've just heard from someone else, but they don't know why it's not working. Yes.
So I suppose kind of accuracy of order and speed of order, that sounds like the two things that you solved.
Yeah. And also how you communicate with the customer, right? If something is not there, right? Because one thing that I realized as well is being able to understand what the customer needs, right? So for instance, like you can't sell me some bananas. You see, with online, it's very difficult because you need to understand what is the customer looking for today, right? If they buy a banana, should I give them a banana that's ready to eat now, or that's going to be ready for next week, right? And I mean, like sometimes when you don't understand the context, there's nothing wrong with it. You could sell them anyone, because you don't understand the context. But the moment you start to understand the context, then you realize that actually you might want to sell them the bananas ready for them to eat at any time.
Okay.
So solving for that. So that means now when you also have to train your pickers when they go to their stores and also incorporate that into the system, right? Like things like live replacement of products.
Yeah.
You introduce things like messaging where the customer can actually chat with the shopper in real time, right? And so because every time when they go to pick these items, some of them are not available, but because you don't know, maybe if you don't find the cake, that was the most important thing they were looking for, right? So, and
others are ancillary to the cake.
Yeah, exactly. Otherwise, the other things were additional stuff. So the other thing that we also had to do was to also tag what was the first thing that the customer added to their basket, because that's also like one of the things that actually drove them to add the other things, right? So that one thing you really need to make sure that if you can't find it, you have done everything to communicate with the customer. So we actually started like really offering like this amazing experience to a lot of these customers, right? Most of these customers then started calling even these retailers to say, hey, but why don't you guys use these guys? A lot of Woolies people used to tell me that they get calls from their customers telling them, asking them, and actually in fact begging them that they must use Zulzi as a platform to deliver their groceries and make it an official partnership.
Yeah.
Right? So this is like, at that time, there's no Checkers, Sixty60, nothing, right? Like at that time, I think Woolworth were definitely leading by far in our platform. Like 95% market share, you can charge up to 15% and you can still grow 100% year on year, right? And then before COVID, then Checkers approached us. In fact, Zayla called me. I had meetings before Zayla, in fact. Met a couple of people at Checkers. I still remember, like at that time, I was so used to disappointment, because I've been to I've had meetings with almost each and every retailer. You can see that there's no partnership that's going to happen, So I still remember when another guy called Paul sent me an email to say, I want to talk to you, come through so we can chat about like what they can do. Yeah. So I went there very excited, thinking when I get a partnership, it's happening instantly. But when I got there, I still remember there was another guy called Andy from Ocado, and you have to Google this guy's, check exactly the background. So I was very excited about Andy because he's from Ocado in the UK. Yeah, so Ocado is one of the biggest online grocery retailers in the UK. So I was very excited that finally there's a guy who will get this, and then as I walk into that meeting, and then I bumped into Andy, and Andy's like, no, he's not coming to our meeting, he's going to another meeting, So I was a little bit disappointed that the guy who really gets this is not going to be part of the meeting.
The guy that's going to be your ambassador.
Yeah, exactly, But funny enough, Paul was also like, he got it as well. He was like, what, there's no reason why I can't do this, So when I came back to Joburg, I was feeling very positive, thinking this deal is happening, like the way Paul spoke about it was like it's happening tomorrow, Now I'm starting sending proposals, everything, tags, everything to say this is how we can work together. But then the guys were very quiet,
as corporates are.
Yeah. And then I even thought maybe my slides are just horrible, So I had to redo some of them, resend again. But the guys were still quiet, And then I still remember like one day I was sitting thinking like, no, these guys must at least send me something, And then I sent an email, I remember telling them that, guys, everyone's working with us, Yes. All these other retailers are with us. Why not you, Yeah. And then didn't take time for me to get an email back to say, no, we're not keen for now,
Okay.
But at least now I've got an answer. And then, then Zayla joined ShopRite Checkers from Take A Lot. And then she called me, right? And then when she called me again, like when I'm in Cape Town, I was like, no, actually I was supposed to come to Cape Town tomorrow, But like you don't want to delay this corporate. You can't be acting busy. Yes, it's like when Jesus called you, you can't say you were busy, So again, the following day I was there in Cape Town where like a long discussion. It was supposed to be a 1 hour meeting. Now Andy is part of it. Zayla in the room. They saw all the things that we could do as a platform, like life replacement, everything, right? And at the time, I think we're doing about 5 million rand a month, right, in GMV. Yeah. So, and I think again, I think one of the things that a lot of corporates didn't understand at the time was if a guy with no partnership, with nothing, right, is able to do that, yes, what does it translate to for someone who's got all those things like muscles, money, everything, right? So I still remember some of the guys were asking us like, how much are you doing? I still remember when it was even 1 million, they keep on saying, yeah, maybe when it gets to 100, we can talk. And I mean, it's impossible, right? So I think where I really give the guys some respect is that they were able to see that actually this platform, if the guys can do this, that means there's more that we can do because we've got the scale, we've got the money. Yeah. If we plug into this, we can make magic out of that, So that's how I think we started engaging about like, how can we then work together to build the 6060 platform, And then from there, I still remember the team had to fly to Joburg to come see us after that meeting, just to see if we're not lying, we're in office.
Well, I remember seeing you at the talk that we met at.
Yeah.
And you were telling the story about your office in Braamfontein, was it?
Yeah, it was in Braamfontein. Yeah.
And the guys were coming to see you, and you had to straighten things out.
Yeah.
In the office.
There was no time. We had to paint overnight, redo the floor. And then I still remember I had to ask some of my friends, right, to come because I had told them that, obviously we're a tech team, massive team, whatever. So now, and I'm thinking it's just me, Michael, my cousin, it's the tech team. And I'm thinking, these guys might not be comfortable to task us with such responsibilities. Yeah. So the family members had to come and act busy there, the friends. So everyone was on their laptop, like looking like they're busy, Yeah. So, I think that's how we were able to sort of like really get into a partnership with ShopRite, which I think has been awesome. Even today we still continue. We've scaled from a team of 4 when we started to a team of about 85 now. Still very much involved on both the 6060 platform and the current super app that they've just released now.
So Zulzi is still running?
Yeah.
In its old form?
Yeah, so we're still running, but now we actually, instead of picking from retailers, now we're dark stores, right?
Okay.
So customers are able to order from us. We open at 6 a.m., we close at 11 p.m. We offer like pharmacy products as well. So if you ever...
So just describe to me what a dark store is.
So a dark store is like a mini warehouse, right?
Okay.
But purely for online. So you don't have like walk-in customers. So we have got 7 of those dark stores.
Dedicated to retailers?
No, like our own. So what we have is like FMCGs. We get products directly from the FMCG.
It's category specific.
Yeah, like everything, your groceries, alcohol, pharmaceuticals. You can find all those things in one place. You're right. So when you go into the Zulzi app, you can actually buy of those products, or you can upload the script. If you want to buy this print as well, you can actually do it by yourself and pay with medical aid on the platform. And then we deliver to you within 30 minutes. Right. Yes. So that's the difference between us and the other retailers. So right now, in fact, even the speed, we've been working very hard to cut that time down, right? Because we can see that everybody wants things instantly, and that essentially has helped us to really grow our platform, by just offering better service, better speed, but also like when I look at like what we've been able to do now for our platform, I've got no doubt that we'll be able to revolutionize any category, whether if it's pharmacy. I think if you take what we have done now and plug it to a bigger pharmacy retailer, we'll see the replication of what we've already done with Checker 6060 because of, we've spent a lot of time really refining this thing, right? Looking at like what the customer journey should look like, and really try to simplify that as much as we can. Because I think when you look at the pharmacy or healthcare space, there's no tech that has been used for over the years. Yeah. And that's what we've been doing really, to try and build systems that can help. Right now, we've been going deeper into like how can enable doctors to be able to write a script online.
I suppose that's what brands get wrong, right? I mean, I see it in the automotive industry.
Yeah.
The traditional OEMs, the software in the cars, are substandard.
Yeah.
They are not where the likes of Tesla, who is a software company, is. And Volvo has been the first company to really say to themselves, we're not software developers. We're not a software company. We're a car manufacturer. So let's take Google's technology and put it in the car. So similar situation with the healthcare industry, I guess. Is you guys are experts at retail platforms. Pharmacy is expert at physical world retail pharmacy. Them doing software platform business is almost trying to backward integrate into a platform, whereas rather partner with an expert in software platforms. Use your real world experience and boom, check your 60/60.
Definitely. I think that part is just so difficult for people. So for instance, for me, a lot of players, why they struggle in South Africa, right? Number one is the investment that they put forward. Right. So a lot of, when I speak to retailers informally, you can just see that the way they think about like how much it costs to build an app that works. Most of them are already getting it wrong. Right. They can't think of they can't comprehend how much it takes. So I think you have to start there in terms of understanding why is it so challenging? Why can't I do it by myself? Because if you don't get that, then you're really losing out. So for instance, it's very difficult for someone who doesn't, even for me, right? I've learned to also respect the way, because now I operate a warehouse and I want a tech business, right? But I get to respect what companies like Checkers are able to do at that scale, where they can have warehouses, all these things, pickers, picking products, people also stealing from you at the same time, right? And to manage that, it also requires a very different culture. Right, to how you run a tech business. Exactly. So and fundamental, those things matter, right? It's like if you wanna mix the two, right, it becomes very, very difficult in terms of the culture. Because remember, the culture is on the retail side, you have to be very strict about things. You can't have a guy,
every small thing.
Matters. You can't have a guy, for instance, coming, if the store opens at 7, you can't have a guy coming at 8. Right. But in the tech world, it's chilled. People can come at 9, come at 10, as long as you do your work.
Because I mean, the code will wait.
Exactly. So you can just imagine someone trying to mix those two cultures together. Right?
It's a good perspective. I mean, I love the way you've separated the physical world retail experience versus the tech world. It's a very different culture. And if you approach it from a culture point of view, you can't have that tech world culture in a retail world.
Exactly. It doesn't work. And vice versa as well. If the retailer tries to move to the other side, it's going to be very difficult. So you're just going to have, and again, I mean, the tech world as well, a lot of things are moving quickly. They're changing, almost every day, how do you make sure you're having the best talent, because, things, even now, sometimes I sit around, I'm like, oh, I can see how things are shifting, even the younger people, right? And in fact, if you want to see where things are going, you need to not ignore the younger people. The younger generations will show you where things are going. Whether if it's your kids at home, what they do, when they've got gadgets, you get to see how they want to consume things. So even for us, you get to see when there's a shift where you can just see that these younger people now, they want something interesting. And work on these things. Now everyone is a machine learning engineer. Now everybody want to do AI, right? And you can take those things for granted, but then you realize that actually that's where things are moving, and that's what you need to give them. Right. So I think technology definitely is one thing that you have to be up in arms all the time, and you must be willing to invest money in it. Right. And what I can promise a lot of, whether it's brands or retailers, is you will get the reward for it. So don't look at it as if if I spend this many millions, what would it do, right? Because one of the things that people have struggled with is, so even for Uber Eats, for instance, I still remember when they did a study to show that a lot of restaurants that were in their platform, they were getting even more money for offline customers walking in. So if you think about online, right, if you match it with an offline world, it becomes like a moving billboard, right, that advertises your business even in the offline space, right? So all of a sudden, you're able to attract customers that you will not have gotten anywhere, right? And then you start getting market share, like what's happening now, right? So whatever the investment that Checkers has made is also paying off in the offline space. So that part, I think, it just shows you that if you really take your online strategy very serious as a brand and invest on it, then you will reap the rewards for even the offline space as well. Right.
Final question from me. 6060, the name.
Yeah.
Where did that come from?
No, I think that was actually, that came from Checkers themselves. Okay. I give credit to Neil. So Neil, I think, is definitely one of those brilliant people at Checkers in terms of strategy as well, execution. Is one of those guys that I think it's also been fun working with him, right? That people never get to talk a lot about him. But yeah, he's the one who came up with the name. I think he loved the movie Gone in 60 Seconds. So that's where it came from, right? But very, like, a brilliant young man. In fact, I hope one day you're gonna interview him. He's very, very smart. I'm gonna try and get in touch with him. Yeah. So that was second to final question. I got another one dropped in my head, and that is, what is the future for Zulzi? Yeah. So, and for Donald. Yeah. So I mean, for Zulzi, definitely the way I see it is like Zulzi will go deeper into the pharmacy category now, which is quite complex because there's a lot of moving blocks. That world is so behind, right? If you think about the other categories, even in terms of legislation, all the things that people say there, right? You can see that there's a lot of things that needs to be changed, right? So I think we want to focus on that, and I think that's gonna change people's lives as well. But also for me, like, I like to also there's a now that you do, but there's also like where the world is going, right? I see there's a massive shift happening now, where I think when you look at like the traditional platforms that we have, starting from Amazon or even Takealot, not much has changed since 1994, right? In terms of like how people consume this content. Just a picture, you go online, you buy it. I see a shift where people really want to move to a space where there's more like gamifications, social media platforms. So for instance, if you look at TikTok selling stuff, it doesn't take them time to really like reach some levels that are the same as Amazon. It just instantly, right? So, and again, it's not different to how malls used to operate. If you think about it, back in the days, people used to go to a mall for dating, right? But now they want to know if there's entertainment in there. Right? So the way I see it is e-commerce as well is evolving to become more like you need to have a lot of videos that are engaging, like gamification as well for the platform. Those are the things that I think now today's customers are looking for. So if we look at like even the Chinese platforms like Temu, when you get there, they have you'll be getting a lot of stuff. That spinning wheel on Temu, that's nuts. It's like you can get 80% off. Yeah, and then like before you know it, you are spinning it. Exactly. So like it just shows you that like actually now we're moving to a world where you need to do a lot more, right? Like to satisfy a customer. Of course, remember like also video as well, right? Yeah. Like there was a time there's actually a massive shift from just like pictures to videos in general. Right? So people want to see the video, to see the surroundings, see this product, whether if it's a product review, like I want to see you talking about this, right? So that's the shift that I think has to be incorporated into e-commerce. And that's something that I've been thinking hard about, like obviously, how do you get that? How do you translate that, into a platform? It's been absolutely fascinating talking to you. Well done. No, thank you so much. You've come from falling through your next move to now strategizing your next move. So really well done, Donald. Take my hat off to you. You're I'm going to call you South Africa's Jeff Bezos. No, thank you. It's been a pleasure. Thank you, sir. And thank you for the interview, and hope to chat to you soon. I hope you become massive. No, thank you. Now that you are saying it, we're going to become massive. Exactly.